Yeah, so the Netherlands have just legalized financial theft with their 36% tax on money you don't have and unrealized gains. And I feel like people are shocked by it, but they don't think, okay, my country's next or anything like that. Absolutely, that's the case. I mean, California is already voting on it.
It's absolutely crazy. So, the Dutch Parliament passed this 36% tax on unrealized gains,
Mm.
which means if you have a stock portfolio and it's gone up, but at the end of the year, you have to pay a 36% tax on the profits, even though you haven't sold a single share. And the thing is, you could be paying that tax. So you say the year ends in December, you've got to pay the tax by June. By the time you come to pay the tax, the shares could have fallen again. Say there's a stock market crash, whatever. The shares you've got 100,000 gain, and you pay the tax on 36% of the 100,000 gain. You're paying 36,000 euros in Holland. But imagine that your portfolio then has fallen by 30, 40, 50%,
Mm.
and that gain's wiped out. Then you're basically selling your stock portfolio and giving it all to the government. It's crazy. It's absolute insanity. No serious investor
Will
could
invest anymore. Yeah.
you just wouldn't invest. I mean, I think they have exempted private companies, which obviously are not liquid. You can't sell them, but basically there are
Yeah.
going to be so many forced sales from these kind of situations that it means that for anyone living in the Netherlands, it's uninvestable. You just can't. The risks are too great. It's another example of people that don't know what they're doing, making rules for
Mm.
everybody else.
Mm.
And it's the craziest thing that I've seen. But you're quite right to say this is happening in other places too. Now already they have this in Norway, and it does include gains on private companies there. So if you're an early investor in a tech company and it goes from zero to 100 million, but you can't sell the stock, you've technically got a 30 million tax on your gain, even though your shares are completely illiquid. So it means that you can't even start new businesses
Yeah.
in that country. And
That's
and this is also coming. They're trying to bring in something very similar in California, and you've even seen recently in the last couple of weeks, Mark Zuckerberg moved out of California to Florida because he's afraid of this new tax coming
mm.
in. And what they probably do to stop everyone from leaving, what these countries generally do,
Exit
is say,
tax.
well, anyone that leaves in the next 5 years still has to pay the tax.
Which is that is literally evidence of theft, like broad daylight. Oh, you can't. They say there's clips that we've shown in the past, like if you don't like it, you can leave. That was Starmer's one of Starmer's lines. But then they're going to introduce an exit tax and then basically say, well, if you want to leave, you're going to have to pay us millions and millions of pounds,
Well,
which over a simple
I mean
action.
that's a different thing to the unrealized gains tax, but yes, that exists in several countries already.
Mm.
Where in Canada, for example, you have to pay. There's effectively an exit tax where you have to pay capital gains on your assets as if you sold them the day that you leave Canada. In the US, they have worldwide taxation, which you can't escape from by moving. But if you choose to renounce your US citizenship, again, you have to pay this exit tax
Yeah.
which is based on the capital gains as if you sold all your assets on the day that you leave. And the US are very vigorous at enforcing things outside their borders. So they have real teeth compared to many other countries. But many European countries have this effective exit tax as well, where the Nordic countries in particular, where if you leave to go to a tax-friendly country, you have to
Mm.
continue paying taxes to the Nordic countries for 3 years after you leave. So this is the direction of travel around the world,
Mm.
where the governments are running out of money, and so tax authorities are getting more and more aggressive. And this new act in the Netherlands is a perfect example of that. And it's not going to stop there. This is going to come to other countries. They all copy each other. This is definitely coming to other countries. So it's a warning for people now. Don't wait for it to happen. Get yourself organized
Yeah.
before it happens. Get you either leave and go to a more tax friendly country like Dubai or Monaco or somewhere like that if you can,
Yeah.
or at the very least have some of your wealth overseas in an offshore entity that they can't touch. So if for anyone in this scenario in Holland, if they had an offshore entity that was and the gains were made in that offshore entity, then that would be a way of avoiding the tax, albeit there are things like controlled foreign corporation rules in all EU countries. but there are ways to get around that. So yeah, everyone needs to be looking at these sort of things and just assume that in the next few years this is going to happen certainly all over Europe, possibly California and other countries too. So freedom is leaving the Western countries increasingly rapidly, and there's this money grab which seems to get worse and worse every year.
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous. I mean, I'm looking at some numbers here. I mean, as you said, like a portfolio might rise. You then basically pay the tax. You're then set at that. It's like you're every time you pay the tax, it's like you're starting a new investment at that point because as soon as it falls, therefore you've paid the tax and now you're losing money on the crash as well. So it's a double loss. It incentivizes basically people to not invest in the markets. And it almost encourages the activity that these slow bureaucratic politicians like, which is kind of a liquid private holdings. Real estate maybe is, I don't know, is real estate affected as much? But yeah, it seems like it's not going to encourage liquidity. It's going to encourage kind of very very
Yeah,
private
it's
dealings.
it's a very blatant theft.
Mm.
I mean, all taxation is theft, but this is a particularly blatant form of theft because they're taxing money that you haven't yet received.
Yeah,
Because by the very nature, it's a profit, and people like to keep their investments for years,
yeah.
and there's no way you can't compound gains efficiently if you've been stuck with a tax like this every single year when you haven't sold stock. And people obviously become forced sellers of the stock because they need to
Mm.
sell stock to pay the tax.
That's true as well. And then it is actually scary. And this is another really huge point. Everyone loves dollar cost averaging and compounding. I mean, everyone's heard that. Everyone knows they're not very good at investing. That's what they should do. If they're not, they can't time the market like we can, but they will do that. And actually, that's a very good thing if you're very new starting out. And if you were investing $1,000, per year, for 40 years, well, no, per month for 40 years that equivalates normally to about 3.3 million.
Yes.
And then on that you might pay your 20% capital gains tax at the end. So yeah, fine. But under the new regime, you'd actually only receive 1.8 of that. So you get a hit over that whole compounding period of 1.4 million as opposed to maybe 300k or 600k, even though the tax in itself is stupid anyway. That is absolutely
And the numbers
crazy.
really add up, and many people don't understand the power of compounding.
Mm,
But that is how you make money over the long term. As you say, if you're not timing the market day by day, which most people either don't want to or can't do,
mm,
you have to rely on the power of compounding, which is what makes you wealthy over time.
mm.
And any kind of taxing, any kind of taxation stops compounding to an extent, but this kind of blatant robbery
Yeah.
that the Dutch are coming out with this 36% unrealized gains tax, just destroys the power of compounding completely, as you said.
No, it is absolutely when it's put into numbers, I think people really do see that. Yeah, because that is the whole idea of investing when it was first invented. Warren Buffett, all these people that people look up to, they talk about that, and then basically this approach removes the very core fundamentals of how to invest. Basically, unless you're going to get in and out extremely quickly, you're completely stuffed. So
Yes,
yeah,
you're taking on the government as your partner in your investment activities, who are going to demand the share of the profits in cash, even though you haven't sold the stock. I mean, it's a nonsense. It's crazy. If you're anyone who's in the Netherlands and has got any wealth at all, if they're not thinking of getting out, they're insane.
yeah.
They've got to leave.
No, exactly. It's a shame how people get so tied to countries just because they have family, friends, and maybe hobbies are in and around the area. But you have to look at the bigger picture sometimes, and that is absolutely the case there. It is very very sad actually because people don't want to have to move, but you've got very nasty people in power who don't do these things, so they just want to steal from the people who do. So
I believe that the Netherlands had one of the first stock markets in Europe, so You know,
Wow.
it's very sad that they're a country like that, a great trading nation,
Yeah,
is
and
doing
also I
something
found it very
so.
funny. It's a very good point that you say. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's very sad they're doing something so insane. This great trading nation is doing
Yeah.
such an insane, making such an insane move.
Yeah, and a very good point you make is like you're already got the government as a partner in your business and day-to-day activities because you're paying them for all the stuff that they don't do, but you do. And then now you're getting taxed on unrealized gains, taxed on goods and services you buy, and then taxed on the business or activities that maybe your LLC or company is operating on under that unrealized gain anyway. So you're just
It's
getting
crazy.
taxed.
And if you've got anything left over when you die, they'll take a chunk of that as well.
Yeah.
But who's going to have anything left with taxes like this?
Yeah, and maybe they might just the Netherlands might just bump that inheritance tax up to 100%. I think I've even heard some chatter of that. I mean, in circumstances where maybe the person doesn't have
I mean,
anyone to give it to, but maybe they've written a will or something like
I
they
think
want it
in
to go to
the
charity. They'll
UK
just the government will take it.
there are crazy people like the Green Party. I think that would probably tax make the death tax 100%. Yeah, there's so much craziness because you all these people that the people that come into politics nowadays to make it a career.
Mm,
They're not people who have done anything before. They've never run a business. They haven't lived in the real world. They've gone straight from university into politics, and they've never experienced real life. So these are the people we have making decisions about how we all should live, and they
mm.
haven't. They're clueless. They're idiots. Why people give them the slightest bit of respect, I just can't comprehend.
Yeah, especially if they then actually, if rational people then go down the rabbit hole of, oh, well, I'm losing here, losing here, losing here, losing here, and it all adds up, and then you think, okay, well, I'm only getting 20 cents for my dollars, then you're probably thinking, well, that's a great opportunity for someone, which is clearly the government, but not me. So you need to
I
stop
mean,
that ASAP. Yeah.
the economies of all the European countries, they're way too politicized, they're way overtaxed, overregulated,
Mm.
and that's why they're dying.
Yeah, m most millionaires ever leaving the UK at the moment. So yeah, definitely interesting times.
Well, you'd almost be insane to stay if you've got any wealth at all.
And people wonder why silver, gold, and all the commodities are moving right now too. So I think that answers your question. And privacy, anything to do with privacy, like what we offer, attention's growing in those spaces, which tells you where people should be going, really.
You can see where the money's going. People, we talk about gold a lot, and gold is the only real money, and you see the value of that climbing. And that is telling you that's certainly a very important message when you see gold at $5,000 an ounce,
Mm,
the amount that's increased in the last few years. That's certainly a very important message that people don't want to be in this. People that know anything anyway don't want to be in this paper money because
mm,
they can see it doesn't work. It's dying. These fiat currencies, whether it's the dollar, the euro, the pound, they're all dying. They're all going to go back to their intrinsic value, which is the paper they're printed on, i.e.
yeah,
zero.
yeah,
That is the intrinsic value of all these currencies. So anyone that's got major amounts of savings in these paper currencies need to do something about it fast because this could happen. They're only held up by confidence, and when
mm,
the confidence goes, the value goes to zero, and the confidence can go very, very quickly.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and it's disgusting. Evil people with these rules that get made and put in place are the reasons why these civilizations and currencies collapse. I mean, Rome was one of those. But they think in their heads, oh, this is great. We're getting loads of money for the country or whatever. But you're just stealing from hardworking people, and those people are not gonna, well, hopefully watch videos like this and actually leave and get out there faster and faster, and then these civilizations collapse faster and faster, and these currencies
Yeah,
collapse
yeah.
as they should.
You have to be in control of your own destiny. You can't be dependent on
Mm,
some kind of fantasy of political change that something's going to get better, but you have to make decisions for you to make
mm,
your own changes that you're in control of today, not something that may happen in 5 years' time or
mm,
sometime in the future that's not under your control. You have to do things that are under your control, whether that's investing, whether it's the type of currency you use, whether it's counting your wealth in terms of gold and in terms of fiat currencies, the country you stay in,
mm,
or whatever. You do things that are under your own control. Never be controlled by others, particularly these lunatics that get involved in politics and bureaucracy and try and tell us all what to do.
Yeah, I feel like people don't even realize that they can take control, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they just go along with all this crap, and then they just hope if I go along with it, maybe they'll leave me alone and they'll go for someone else. But clearly, that's never the case. So,
People want to have a quiet life, and that's understandable. But it's
mm,
when you see these kind of rules coming in, these kind of taxation that's blatant theft, it becomes harder and harder to do that.
absolutely, yeah. Lovely. Well, thank you very much, and that's some food for thought, people to think on. Yeah, definitely terrible stuff that's continuing all over the world.
Thanks, Isaac.